Jim Morrison is the genius who came up with the Buzzy Awards, and we had several categories of Buzzy Award, but my favorite so far is Mentor of the Year. This is a person that has taken the time to help other people in this business, and I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce to you the Mentor of the Year for the first annual Buzzy Awards. Stick around after the break, and you'll meet our Mentor of the Year.
LIA Administrators and Insurance Services, serving valuation professionals since 1978. We provide E&O insurance with a commitment to superior customer service, outstanding liability education, and unmatched claim defense. Explore our exclusive appraiser liability education by Peter Christensen and cost-effective seminars designed to foster your growth. Our underwriters, with an average of 26 years of experience each, are dedicated to supporting appraisers. Visit liability.com to discover how LIA can safeguard your business. You're listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast with your host, Hal Humphreys.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for this edition of the Appraisal Buzzcast. We're so excited to have our announcement for Mentor of the Year for the Buzzy Award. Let me bring back in our host, Hal Humphreys. Hey, Hal.
Hello, Jim Morrison. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Well, we are so excited to welcome this person back. They're one of our most requested people and one of our favorites. We see him at all the conferences. Our Mentor of the Year is Jeff Bradford, and we're going to celebrate him winning our Buzzy Award for Mentor of the Year. Let me bring him in. Hey, Jeff. Congratulations, Jeff. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be with you guys.
Jeff, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us. It's always good to see your face, always good to spend time with you. I want to be the first to say congratulations on winning the Buzzy Award for Mentor of the Year. You have done so much for this industry, so much for individuals in this industry. I consider you a mentor. You've always answered my calls, and we've had some long chats over the past several years. And I think this is just recognition of the fact that you're a leader in this industry. And I'm not just blowing sunshine. I really do think you're a leader in this industry, and you're incredibly valuable to this industry. For the folks in the room who might not know Jeff Bradford, give us a real quick backstory of how did you end up in the appraisal industry? Because I know that's not what you set out to do initially.
Well, so this journey started 38 years ago now. And it started out by, I had just finished working at Apple, and I had a friend whose wife was doing appraisal forms for somebody, typing them up, and they wanted some software. They didn't want to buy a DOS program, which there's like 35 of them at the time. So I said, I'll whip out some Macintosh software for them. And, you know, one thing led to another. And pretty soon we had a little business going. And 38 years later, there's Bradford Technologies. And so that's how it started.
You know, I love the fact that you came to this with an engineering background and a problem-solving mindset, and you got a friend who's trying to figure out how to get this done in a more expeditious way, and you came at it with the attitude of an engineer. Hey, let's find a way to do that. I will say this. I have been a Mac guy for the past 20 plus years. I like working on a Mac, and it has been one of the great frustrations of my life that real estate appraisal software has not been developed specifically for the Mac. So tell me a little bit more about that initial run of software for the Mac, and why can't we have a Mac-based software?
You know, so we had a lot of problems with the Mac because as things became more integrated, access to data was the big deal. As long as we confine ourselves to just producing or helping the appraisers publish that appraisal report, we were fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as we had to bring in data, it was a Windows and DOS world.
Yeah.
And so we had to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's been one of my main frustrations with the appraisal industry. It is a PC, it is a DOS-based world. All of the information is contained therein. I remember early on in my career when, do you remember Argus, the cash flow software?
Sure.
When that came out, I was really hopeful we could get a Mac version of that, and it just didn't work. Anyway.
Alan, just remember when we started, there was no internet. And so that was the problem with access to data. Once there was a standard for access, that was a different story.
Yeah.
So anyway.
One of the things that hits me is you've been in around this industry for quite some time. What are some qualities that you think are important to someone to be successful in this business?
Well, I think it's the same qualities for any business. And that is, you start off with truly knowing what business you're in so you can focus, having a really good team around you, taking care of the customer with good customer service, and probably always striving to add value by innovating. And the other one is don't be afraid to fail. Yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Because if you have all the other ones correct, customers will allow you to fail and they'll stick with you.
You know that I like to read. I'm kind of a fiend for books. We've talked about books. We've swapped ideas on books over the past several years. Inside of Storyboard, the company that owns Appraisal Buzz in Val Expo, we have started a book club. And the last book that we just finished is a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's from a restaurateur's point of view. But there's so many things in that book about customer service and taking care of people and providing value that I think it's just an incredible resource for anybody in business, number one. And number two, for appraisers, I think a lot of us have lost the notion that we are, in fact, in the customer service business. And when we take an assignment on, how is it that we fulfill that assignment? How is it that we do the job? And how is it that we communicate with our client at the end of the day? And I think that's an incredibly important thing for us as appraisers to keep in mind. What are some of the most important things you've learned over the past 38 years? And do you have any examples of success stories that you think that would shine a light on how to do this work successfully?
I'm not sure about examples. I'll just tell you that, when we started, we thought we were in the software business, thought we were cool software developers, right? And very quickly we learned that we were really in the publishing business because we helped appraisers publish their appraisal reports. And like I said, this before XML and all that kind of stuff. And appraisers were really, they were going out and buying $10,000 laser printers to publish and produce high quality appraisal reports. So that's when we said, we're in the publishing business, and anything we do, anything we add has to be in that publishing lane.
Yep.
So, and then the other one is, besides the adding value and things like that, you want to be able to add opportunity to your customers. Because they're all, every appraiser is in business for themselves, right? And so if you can provide the opportunity for them to excel on their own, some of these guys will just take off and run. And it's great to see that, to hear these stories. Others don't want that, but the ones that do, they're off to the races. And so if you can provide those kinds of things, then that's a good thing to do. There's a really good book out there called Red Ocean, Blue Ocean. Mm-hmm. And it talks about, you might be doing this, but try doing the same thing this way. And a really good example is, what's the difference in the circuses, right? Between the Ringling Brothers and Circus Olay, right? Ringling Brothers charges you $15. Circus Olay charges you probably $200 now when you go to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Per seat. But it's a different circus, but it's a circus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's those kind of things that come to the forefront when I think about success stories.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you thought about it until you thought you were in the software business. Turns out you're in the publishing business, and dialing into what it is you actually do. And I think I'm reminded of a book that I'm reading right now called Jobs to Be Done.
Mm-hmm.
And the anecdote that the author uses to make the point is, you don't buy a drill because you need a drill. You buy a drill because you need an 1/8 inch hole in a surface.
Yeah, right.
So know what the job to be done is. And I think that's, for appraisers, I think it's going to be really important for us, especially going forward, to understand what it is we do as appraisers. What is the job to be done? And if we think our job is to, I'm going to get shot for saying this, but we think our worth to the industry is going out and measuring a house with a tape measure, or taking pictures of sales comps. If that's what we bring to the table, that's not the job to be done. I think it's going to be critical for us as appraisers to understand what the job to be done is. And I have an idea, I have a notion of what that job is, and it goes back to the very beginnings of real estate appraisal as an industry. We provide an estimate of value that is a critical piece in the risk analysis for a transaction. And I think when we think about our job in those ways, the work we do, Jeff, is not filling out forms, is not taking pictures, not doing those things. It is analyzing information and delivering. We may have talked about this, the notion of data versus information versus intelligence. Data is just these random observations, factual, bits of data out there, and then you organize those, sort them into, meaningful categories. That becomes information. And then what we bring to the table is the intelligence. We deliver the intelligence to a borrower, a lender, someone that needs to make a decision about a very expensive investment they're about to make. And we're not photo takers. We're not form fillers. We are analysts.
Right. Absolutely correct.
There's been hand-wringing and uncertainty about this new UAD and what it means for the appraisal industry. Couple of questions here. Number one, how much of a change will this be for the appraisal software side of it?
Well, it's a big change. I mean, everybody has to change. Lenders have to change. AMCs have to change. The portal submission people have to change. The appraisers have to change. Software developers have to change. So it's a big change. Definitely a big change.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big a change is this?
It's a 10.
Yeah. It's a colossal different way of looking at things.
And well, you know what? Let me maybe backtrack a little bit on that.
Okay.
The GSEs call this the appraisal modernization, right? They really should have called it appraisal report modernization.
Yeah.
Because the appraisers are going to continue to create appraisals the same way they've been doing it all along, or they can.
Yeah.
How they produce the appraisal report is different, but that's the main effect for appraisers.
Yeah.
Everybody else has to change quite a bit. Like software developers have to change quite a bit, all those things, right? But appraisers, they're going to do valuations, and they're just going to produce the report a little bit differently.
The publishing changes.
That's right. That's exactly right.
What are some of the benefits of this change to the new UAD?
So because we're at such an inflection point, it gives everybody a chance to really rethink what they want to do, right? As software developers, we could continue providing software to help the appraiser publish an appraisal report, more in a dynamic form, TurboTax-like kind of thing. Or we could do differently. But I will tell you what, I'm going to tell you a story. Somewhere along the line, our software got categorized as form-filling software, and I didn't like that. And because I think that kind of cheapens what we do. And then appraisers started being called form fillers.
Yeah.
Right? And that really irked me because these guys are professionals and they're not form fillers.
Yeah.
So when all this stuff from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac came down, I just said, you know what? This is our opportunity to rethink what we do. And so we pivoted. And we are now, instead of helping them publish, we're now going to help appraisers produce the appraisal. And so the analytics, the data, all these kinds of things are coming into our software, the dashboards to make decisions, all these kinds of things. Because if somebody uses our software, they're not going to be called form fillers.
Yeah.
They're going to be called appraisers. And so we're taking this opportunity to set the foundation for new technology to come in, like AI, new forms of analysis to come into the picture. And we're going to produce the appraisal report with the click of a button.
Yeah.
Right? Zero form filling. So appraisers who use our software will no longer be called form fillers. That's our goal.
I love it. I love it. You know, when in thinking about the notion of the publishing business, you know, back when appraisers were buying $10,000 printers to put together really pretty reports, the appraiser was spending a lot of time, and I know this because I were one and I did this, we would spend a lot of time trying to get the exhibits pretty, the photos in the right place, you know,
Right.
making sure that the physical report looked as good and as professional as possible. At the end of the day, with the new UAD, what's being delivered has nothing to do with the pretty front-facing report business. It's a bunch of ones and zeros going through a cable. And on the other end of that publishing is, I'm going to assume, is going to be that data possibly presented in a different way to someone who's making a decision based off of that, as opposed to what the appraiser sees. But I love the fact that your first thought, the first thing you have to say is, appraisers that use our software are not form fillers, they are appraisers. I've been in so many meetings over the years where I started my career as a commercial appraiser. And I've been in so many meetings over the years where I heard the commercial appraisers say things like, "Oh, yeah, that table over there is the box checker table. They're the residential guys. They're the form fillers." And there's so much more to it than just filling a form. And look, anyone that acknowledges that about the appraiser, the boots on the ground residential appraiser, solid in my camp.
Well, that's where we're at. Totally pivoted. And we'll see where we end up.
Let's do this. I'm going to take a real quick break, and we're going to hear from one of our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Are you ready to take your career in real estate appraisal to the next level? Join the Appraisal Institute, your go-to source for expert insights, industry trends, and the latest updates from the world of valuation. Whether you're an experienced appraiser or just starting out, they bring you industry resources, classes, and all the knowledge you need to stay ahead. Join today and be part of a community that's shaping the future of the appraisal profession. Visit appraisalinstitute.org to learn more and become a member.
Welcome back, everybody listening to the Appraisal Buzzcast. I'm Hal Humphreys, your host. I'm joined today by someone that I consider a friend, Jeff Bradford. He has been named Mentor of the Year for the first annual Buzzy Awards. Jeff, welcome back. Thank you again for being here. The way you explain things brings me a sense of calm. It's like everything's going to be okay. And I think that's part of the reason why you were selected as Mentor of the Year. You've got this ability to take craziness and say, hang on a second, take a breath. Here's what this means. And I'm so absolutely tickled that you are the first annual recipient of Mentor of the Year through Appraisal Buzz.
Well, it's an honor. It was unexpected. It's actually very humbling. But I think looking back on it, I'm glad that I've been able to interact with so many people and in a way impart whatever kind of wisdom I have. A lot of it is because we fail a lot. So if I can keep people from failing, that's a good thing to do. And bottom line, that's a good thing to do. And so we do it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so Jim Morrison likes to throw these anonymous appraiser questions at me to trip me up in a very public forum. Jim Morrison, do we have an anonymous appraiser question that Jeff Bradford and I could try to tackle?
We do have a question. If anybody has any comments or questions for us, reach out to us at comments@appraisalbuzz.com. I think this is a great one, especially when we're having an episode on Mentor of the Year. This says, I'm a 22-year-old with a bachelor's in finance and eager to break into appraising or real estate investment analysis. I'm not sure how to start. Without a mentor available, I'm planning to take the Perea route to gain necessary experience and knowledge. My ultimate goal is to become a certified general appraiser in less than 18 months, if possible. However, I'm uncertain whether the appraisal industry is still thriving or if it's on a decline. I'm actively seeking more resources and guidance to ensure I'm on the right path.
Well, anonymous, I would start off by saying I think you're going down the right path. The Bachelor in Finance degree is going to be a really useful tool for you. I think that's a good thing to have in your pocket. I've been castigated in public for saying this, but I am a fan of the Perea program. I think it is a really good program. You've got limited options out there. I'm not aware of anybody offering a Perea program that takes you to the CG at this point in time. But I would never dissuade anyone from taking the Perea route just because it is so difficult to find a working appraiser to take on a trainee. That has been the case since I've been in this business. Jeff, any thoughts?
I don't know if this is possible or not, but if it's possible to find the mentor first or a group that is doing these kinds of things first before you spend the money and the time, I think that's a good thing to do, because I've just heard so many stories from various people over the years that they took all these classes, spent all this time, and then couldn't find a mentor, and so they have to go do something else.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a story. I was doing this presentation on AI just this last Monday in Modesto, and this guy comes up to me and he starts telling me that about some software that he's building. And I asked him, why did you even pick this market? And he says, well, I want to be an appraiser. And I thought, okay, and he goes on to tell me, it's hard couldn't find a mentor, all this kind of stuff. So guess what he did? He said, well, I'm just going to build software for appraisers and for myself. And he now has a team in India, a team in Germany, building software for the iPhone. They can do floor plans in real time. He wants to fill out the 1004 automatically. And the guy is just lives about a mile away from me. So it's Silicon Valley type of story. But that's the kind of passion that there is for appraising out there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think as an organization or as an industry, if you will, we need to find a way to help people like this guy, like the guy who wrote in the question, to help them become appraisers, because there's passion out there for appraising, and there's all these roadblocks, whether they're self-imposed or whatever, but it's hard to become an appraiser, and we need to make it easier. Like this guy had the wherewithal to write. I mean, he now has his own technology company.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's just that passion, right? So,
and there are other things besides PARIA out there. I'm thinking of the Appraiser Development Initiative, the ADI, coming from Fannie Mae, an amazing group of people trying to encourage people to come into this business, providing them resources and tools. The National Association of Appraisers has a robust trainee program. I know we're going to be in San Antonio for the ACTS conference this year, and at that conference, we will be taking trainees out on a field trip so that they can see what it's like to go out and measure a house and do those things. The other thing that occurs to me, Jeff, is the real estate appraisal business. I grew up in it. My father was an appraiser. I knew what I was getting into. It is not your standard, go to the office at 9 o'clock, stay at the office, do your thing, make some phone calls, and go home at 5. There's a lot of moving parts to being an appraiser. And some people think, I want to be an appraiser, and they do the education, they do the thing, and then they really find out what it entails. They're like, I don't want to do this. So to the person that's writing the question, do give some thought to what it really means to be an appraiser. I would encourage you, find an appraiser development initiative meeting where they're going to have a workshop, maybe meet some appraisers there, go to an NAA event, avail yourself of the resources to trainees there. Join us at Valuation Expo if you want to. There are so many kind, thoughtful, willing to talk to new people, appraisers that come to these conferences, that it's always a good thing to be at a conference and meet people face to face. Let's just touch on that last bit of the question. I'm uncertain whether the appraisal industry is still thriving or if it's on the decline. Jeff, thoughts on that?
I will tell you that with change, there is opportunity. And so change is coming, big change is coming. There's going to be big opportunity. And so is it going to thrive? You bet.
I agree.
There's going to be appraisers out there that are going to thrive like you've never seen them thrive before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I talked to an appraiser here in Nashville, Tennessee last week who is so absolutely thrilled about the new changes coming out that he's actually hired on a couple of new appraisers. He is bullish on this. He loves this business. And I've been in it my entire career. I think that the notion that appraisers are going away is wrong-headed. I think, as Jeff just said, with change comes opportunity. And if you find those opportunities, find those little wedges into which you can insert yourself, find the place where you fit and come at it with passion, I have no problem saying to you, please join us in the appraisal profession.
Yeah, and to this guy, I would recommend that he join you guys on that tour.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeff Bradford, thank you again so much for taking the time to chat. Jim Morrison, do we have anything else we need to cover?
Jeff, thank you so much, and congratulations again. We're going to be having the award ceremony at Val Expo. I'm sure we'll see you there, and we'll be giving you the award on stage. So thank you so much for being our first Mentor of the Year.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you very much. And to all the people who voted for me unexpectedly, thank you very much.
And if we have nothing else, for Jim Morrison and Jeff Bradford, I'm Hal Humphreys, and that is your Appraisal Buzzcast for this week.